bullet point, and that's the tear off of the existing roof. The existing roof is a coal tar pitch roof, which is effectively a built-up system that has to be scraped off of either the metal deck or the lightweight concrete deck. It's labor intensive. It's extraordinarily labor intensive for a roof tear off. That's the first thing that has to be done. The second thing that happens is we put on the deck a base sheet that waterproofs the deck. Just because it's waterproof doesn't mean it's a complete roof system. Above that, we put insulation and we put tapered insulation. So where we have a flat roof, which is what we have when we have slope issues at Indian Valley, the insulation itself will be sloped to the drains. That's the tapered insulation part. All that insulation will have an average R value of 30, which is the insulation value you need for code. So not only are we going to repair the roof, or replace it rather, but we're going to slope the drain to the drain so that we don't have water just sitting on the roof, just like it sat on top of valleys for so long. We will then install a 2-ply modified bitumen roof. This will include flashings, counter flashings, edge metal, and other appropriate material. There's an antenna that needs to be replaced. There's a couple of things on the roof that we have to make sure we take care of, or I should say not replaced, but kept active. We have installation of plumbing for drains. So there are drains that exist on the roof. We're going to slope water to those drains. There's going to be other places where we need to install more drains. So by the time this project's over, there will be more drains on that roof to take water off of it than exists now. And finally, there's a couple of spots that are not required for us to touch because the metal roof is not a problem right now, but all the flat roofs are the ones that we're working on. It's interested to note that the 1996 edition has a lightweight concrete, and we deal with that a little bit separately than we deal with the metal deck. If we tear the roof off and we find out that the metal deck or lightweight concrete is not performing because it's deteriorated, we will be replacing metal deck or lightweight concrete or reinforcing it so that it can stay there for another 30 to 40 years. So that will be part of the project as well. And then finally, there'll be some alternates that we price within these roofing numbers so that we can give the district options to kind of modulate their scope and budget. Some of those are based on material that go into 20 or 30 year warranties, and there'll be a couple of other options. But we are doing this now so that we can get a jump on this as soon as the kids are out of school and get that finished in the summertime. So when we price this up, we're paying attention to several different areas. And what we've done since this presentation's even been made is we've gone up and done some more core testing and done some things to find out what's happening under the roof layers. Core testing is a sampling, so we can't tell exactly what's happening everywhere, but we try and get a good idea so that we know where the roof deck is bad, etc. And that's been completed to date already prior to the walkthroughs that have gone on today. Now, we had the roofer, the manufacturer, Tremco, Garland, look at it, and they provided us some information with the scope that I just gave you. And I started to note that we've got some things that we're paying attention to, and that they include the concrete metal, the metal deck replacement, how much are we going to need to have in our scope. The way we do that is we come to an agreement with the district on how much we might need to replace, and we put that in the contract. If the district needs to use it, they use it. If they don't need to use it, it goes back to the district. So you don't spend a nickel more than you need, and you get only what you need for those roof deck issues. We're making sure that we do the best that we can to not over insulate or have too much insulation in different places as we have that average R30, so that we're not spending more money on insulation than we need to because we don't have an appropriate plan. There's a lot of attention being paid to that. There's flashing modifications at the interior building walls that we're watching to make sure that we don't have issues there. We did have those issues on Crest, and we're just making sure that we minimize those at Valley. We'll need minimal contingency for other uses. Some things will come up, but we've covered a lot of the concerns there. And of course, I already noted the plumbing required for the drains. So one of the things that I want to point out, and one of the reasons why the district is talking about using SiteLogic for this is that we have folks on site this summer to oversee the project. There is not another charge for that oversight. The district already, Chad Mountcastle and I were actually texting before this meeting because he's working on continued work for that tomorrow morning. Chad will be there, so there's no charge for the supervision that's needed for the roof. Next summer, we intend to be here too, so we're not, again, charging for supervision needed for that roof next summer. So that's one of the ways that we're able to keep the cost down for the district. The schedule is that we've done our roof walks with the subcontractors at another meeting today. We have our presentation tonight and had those walkthroughs today, as I mentioned. We are now receiving pricing on the 17th from roofing subcontractors. We will review the scope with them and come to final numbers about the 18th and the 19th. And then we will be back here on the 25th with all our best pricing obtained and review with the district for an approval. And then we've already talked a little bit about the phasing that I have noted below, and one exception is this first summer will include a little bit of this roof area where we're having our most significant troubles right now.
So Mike, you'll have the prices, you'll have the prices when?
We got pricing on the 17th.
And you'll be able to get to us so I can get it to the board to review before the 25th meeting?
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to do, is get the information to you. If you have questions, and I get it back to, me or whatever. So on the 25th, we'll be voting on the we'll have a final cost to get this roof done this, starting this summer. Okay? Any questions on that?
They said everything.
We got it. Okay?
So in the discussion here about roof, 100% full confidence that when you're done, we're good. If you can explain, for the benefit of everyone here, what is being done currently and what is the level of confidence that we will be okay until summer?
You want to start that, or do you want?
Yeah, so when we started having a few issues that we grew over time, right? SiteLogic assisted district, like I said, the roof was never in the scope of the project, right? So as we started having issues, they had John, which is one of the three that bid on and be priced out for the replacement, started trying to do repairs. Because at first we tried to manage those repairs and hopefully stop the leaks. As we've gone through more and had multiple people look at it, different people, it's become clear that we cannot fix this roof, right? It is beyond repair. We are triaging it now, right? So we're not going to guarantee that there's not going to be a drop in water in this building, but we've patched significantly. What was that? Monday. This is with the rubber roof on it.
Correct.
So in anticipation for the storms yesterday, we put this rubber coating, basically like an extra coating over top to temporarily get us through, knowing it wasn't going to be a perfect fix. But what is going to happen is well, that water may not seep through there. You're now putting that work somewhere else on the roof, which may have been able to hold what was there before, but now has new things. And we realized by talking to a roofing expert, 3 different contractors, that if we keep trying to do that, extend it down to the new section, you're just going to keep chasing it throughout the building and creating more leaks. So we think we significantly reduced the leaks in the areas affected. The signage room, water's not pouring in. The signage wings, they're not pouring in. There's 4 or 5 sections in each room where you have a bucket, and it's an inconvenience, absolutely, and we understand it's a problem, so that's why we did not have the classes in there. Currently, John is working with SiteLogic to put some stuff underneath the roof for those areas that may have some drips here and there to collect them to be funneled into one spot, right? So it may not be perfect, we're triaging it. There's no way to make it perfectly 100% sealed proof until we actually replace it. And so we're trying to expedite this as quickly as possible to get that done. So we're not gonna promise that there's not gonna be a problem with water in the building. What we're saying is we put the significant repairs in that we put temporarily on the roof, and now we're going to try to manage whatever is getting below steel metal decking to be funneled into a place so it's not damaging anything and to minimize any disruption.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I don't know any questions.
Anybody else, questions?
I think that was it. So you feel that if you add that section of the science, that it's not necessarily, it's not a patch, but you're gonna be able to do that as a permanent repair, and that
A replacement.
as an addition, exactly, so that it's done, and then when you come in the following summer, you'll be able to work around that.
It's still a patch, it's still a patch, it's not a permanent fix.
Well,
I think it's a patch.
were we talking about, I'm sorry, just want to make sure.
The
we're talking
sanctuary
about
area
what
is
we're
gonna be
do.
added to this year.
Correct.
It's summer work, so if you look at the picture,
Yes,
yeah, there's a section here, we're going to add that to the scope.
and that's going to be permanent.
That's gonna be the permanent fix.
Yeah, it'll be a replacement.
And we'll get a new, because if you look at the yellow, this, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, this will become yellow. So the area right here, this will become
So it's a
yellow.
large area.
It is a large area,
But
our
it's-
3 roofing subcontractors have suggested that they could do much more than that for summer if we wanted them to. I think that what we are going to do is, the area that I showed you in phase 1, the area that we're talking about that Mr. Crum just pointed out, if we have the ability, because we'll have the material, if we have the ability to do other small areas because we're ahead of ourselves and we had a good summer of weather, et cetera, we'll do as much as we can in summer 1. It'll just be prudent to do that.
Yeah, I've tried to chase leaks on plot roofs before, and I know it's impossible, so, you know, and I know.
And it needs it- and it gets down
some of
and
that, so.
It's, the water runs uphill, you could be leaking here and it's dripping over here.
I know,
So,
well, yeah.
okay.
And there's 2 reasons for the phasing over 2 summers. One is it's a brutal rip to do the whole entire roof in the summer. Can somebody try to do it? But we think we're gonna get the best pricing by talking to our, roofing consultants, that it'll be more, appetizing to the contractors to get a better price to split over 2 summers, number 1. But also 2, with everything else still going on in the building and the renovations, there's gonna be some work that it would be difficult to do roof in these few sections because of work going on in or around there. And we're doing pavement projects there. So part of this is, we don't have from the day they get out to the day they go back in September to do it. It's more earlier in the summer, because the paving will need to be done in some of those sections later in the summer. So that's part of the reason we abbreviate it and split it up too. So it's focusing on the most pertinent areas this summer, and also trying to get the best value out of the contractor. So those are really the 2 reasons to split it up. And there's a possibility, like Damien said, if they're in the schedule, they can do a little bit more, it's not the way, they'll try to do as much as they can. That's really the basis for splitting.
And they did a very good job, you see they broke it up.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, if, like David said, okay, maybe we can hit this area here, so there's areas they can keep adding, to get more done. But we'll have, the contracting cost is for the whole job, spread over 2 summers, so. Questions from the public, yes, sorry, we'll start here.
Yeah, thanks for the update. Question in terms of, between now and the summer, we're monitoring for mold or other environmental issues that are going to be rising with the water that's going to be up on the roof and in the walls. What are we doing to monitor for that and then address it as
Which we will monitor that very closely. Mr. Ball has been trained by the EPA on those issues and is very much knows exactly what tests have to be done if we need to do them. But we will be visually inspecting that all the time.
We do air samples in all of our buildings pretty frequently.
Okay.
So and if we have a reason like this, we will do it even more frequently.
Okay, as a parent, I'll just speak for myself, who has a child who has special needs, we would prefer that be done frequently
Oh,
because.
absolutely, absolutely. And I can share the results with you.
That'd be great.
Okay, I always, when we do air quality sampling at the buildings, the principals always get a copy of it. So the administrative office at each building will always have a copy of the air results.
And Dr. Gallo, you were gonna talk to Dr. Pamela about communication.
Yes.
That might be a good frequent communication to parents.
It's already in our to-do list.
And then the design of how they're managing water now is plastic and being drained to a place to be emptied, so It's designed to keep it away from sheetrock, keep it away from the ceiling tiles where mold would grow. So they are trying to manage it, but, air quality samples, but also visual inspections. And because Chad, who is, the site supervisor of the job, he's monitoring this every day and looking at all these things and managing these leaks. So it's gonna be a constant focus.
Sir?
I just want to echo the original comments. Our daughter has asthma, and mold's a very real concern, especially since this is a widespread and ongoing problem. So I would suggest that Dr. Pammer actually publish the schedule at which those air quality tests will be conducted and share the results.
You have a suggestion?
Yeah, and I do apologize if this was already answered, as I kind of came in late. But was the roof, two-part question, was the roof considered as part of the overall scope of the project initially? And if not, why?
I think you missed that part, maybe.
I may have, yeah, so I apologize if I missed
We
that.
had another firm do a study of all our buildings,
Mhm.
and the recommendation was to do some of these renovations that you're seeing in some of our buildings right now. The roof recommendation was, it has 5 to 7 more years left on it, and that was done in 2020. So this was premature, and that's why it's not part of the greater big project. So it'll be starting this summer, as you just saw.
Okay, so if I may follow up, so if knowing that it had 5 to 7 years, when this major renovation that's happening now was being planned, why would this not have just been included, knowing it's a ticking time bomb? Because I know a lot of people are not happy about this.
So we answered that similarly earlier. The feasibility study was all of our buildings, and they have recommendations on everything that we could possibly do, right? And if you added up all the things, the school district couldn't possibly afford it, and they're not even saying it had to be done. What they were suggesting in 2020 was in 5 to 7 years, we should consider a roof coating, not even a replacement. So obviously that estimate was far off, because obviously it's earlier than that, and we need a replacement. So it was just one of those many things, and we could have doubled the cost of the renovations we're doing currently by doing everything. And some of this is, could, should, do, whatever, right? Unfortunately, the estimates back in 2020 did not become reality, and we started addressing it as soon as we realized that, the plan was to look at 25, 26 to replace the roof. It just came a little bit earlier and more significant than originally anticipated, based off of a prior architect that does not do business for the district currently.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Do we have an estimate on any damages that were done to the new, either equipment or to the new areas that this has affected?
Right now, it's primarily ceiling tiles.
Say again?
Ceiling tiles primarily.
Okay, there was no damage to any of the music equipment?
I believe there was. No, I was in there yesterday, there was not.
Okay, and then that kind of goes to my second thing, because, so when did this, you guys said that when this, came on your radar, that there were issues and this wasn't gonna, we weren't gonna be able to wait, the seal, somebody had to do something about the roof now. When did that pop up on your radar? Because this is not a problem from the last week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like the choir room has been leaking since almost the day one of school.
Yeah, it's been a fall problem. So we've been trying to mitigate it with different solutions that did not work as well, and that's why we're doing this tonight.
And so this Chad, I'm sorry, I don't know who exactly is in charge of what, so Chad, who I'm assuming is the project manager.
Superintendent's out there.
Okay, so he is the one who's overseeing these
Yes.
Yes.
Band-Aids that we've been putting on, and now a ace bandage, if you will, until June.
But it was determined pretty quickly that we needed to do a roof replacement, right? And it takes time to do that. Unfortunately, developing the plans, the laws to procure all this stuff, right? So we're expediting as fast as possible, just getting the plans ready. So as soon as we identified it, we tried to do temporary repairs to manage it, but we're moving as fast as we can, based on our guidance from our solicitor, to get this permanent replacement done. So this isn't something we decided to do last week because of the storm. This is something that obviously we've been talking about for a few months now as we've been going through this process. So this isn't a reaction to yesterday. This isn't a reaction to Sunday. This is something that we knew before it even got this bad. We already took the steps to start replacing the roof when there was 2 or 3 buckets and a couple trickles here in a couple rooms, and the problem's grown much larger since.
Yeah,
so unfortunately, we started taking those steps back when we did.
I think the problem on our end is, or the concern on our end is that there's nothing has been communicated officially to us from day one, like, from day one, when our kids were coming home saying there's water coming down on the, you know, the brand new choir room is leaking. We can only go on one, you know, the altos have to be singing on the wrong side because of it, I mean, and nothing has been communicated to us as parents and guardians. And then, again, not to harp on this, but I mean, is there anything that we can do to go back to the original architect and say, you know,
That would be a discussion that would be illegal, so that's not something we're gonna talk about in public.
about going back and getting, I mean, it's our tax dollars that we're,
I
that they,
understand that, but it's not something that we're gonna talk about tonight,
okay.
okay?
Okay, questions, okay. Okay. More information to come.
And we need to move for consideration for a vote on the 25th.
Yes, we're all candidates for the bill, yes.